Welcome to the Be Your Best Self podcast, a health and wellness podcast focused on mind, body, spirit living for the modern woman. My name is Jamie Molnar, and I'm a licensed psychotherapist and registered yoga teacher, passionate about helping women let go of the negative self-talk and develop a positive relationship with their bodies and souls. Join me in my conversations with women who share incredible stories of healing, as well as experts in a variety of wellness spheres, all to help you with your physical, emotional, and spiritual health. This podcast will inspire and entertain you while also teaching you the simple tools you need to live your best life. Hey there, and welcome to the Be Your Best Self podcast, episode 67. Jamie Molnar here. Thank you so much for joining me today. Before we get started, I just wanted to announce that we are now open for pre-signups for the next cohort of the Visionaries Collective, my 6-month business and life mastermind for therapists and healers who want to step into their fullest potential. This program launches in February 2021, and it's going to be amazing. I'm so excited about it. It is by application only, as we take a very select number of participants to ensure that each person receives high quality, high touch support throughout the entire program. So if this sounds like something that would interest you, I have a link in the show notes for you to sign up, to learn more information, set up a free consultation call, just get more information. Would love to chat with you about it if this is aligned. So this month, we are exploring the general theme of holistic entrepreneurship, because I know that many of my listeners are not only empaths and healers, but also either working a side gig, starting a wellness business, or maybe even have been in business for a while. And I think that being a healer and being a business person are two very different things, two very different ways of being. So I dedicated this month to exploring all the ways in which we can meld those two identities and be successful, both personally and professionally. And if you're not an entrepreneur, don't worry. A lot of the content in these episodes will still apply to you as a healer and as an empath. So definitely check out these episodes, and I guarantee you will get something out of them. Okay, so I'm curious. Do you ever feel like maybe you're a bit invisible, whether at your job or around colleagues or with your business? Do you ever feel like maybe you struggle with asserting yourself in meetings or at networking events, or, even with clients or potential clients? Maybe you struggle with getting the words out, like what you're saying in your head, but you struggle to articulate what you're really wanting to say. And overall, you just feel like you're not really seen, you're not really heard, and you want to change that for yourself. If you identify with any of those statements, then Cynthia Zhai is the person for you. Cynthia is a voice coach, a professional speaker, and a best-selling author. She's also a TEDx speaker. Cynthia has helped business professionals and professional speakers from 46 countries across 5 continents with their voices to speak with impact. Cynthia has been a professional speaker and coach for the past 18 years, and her speaking engagements span 5 continents in 18 countries. Cynthia is awesome. I really enjoyed chatting with her. I really learned a lot in this episode, and so I think you will too, and I'm really excited to introduce you to her. So let's dive in. Let's get started. All right, I'm live. I'm here in the flesh with Cynthia. Excited to be here. This is great. Hi, Cynthia. Yes. Thanks so much for being here with me on the podcast.
Sure. Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah, this is great. Everybody, she is in Singapore right now, and it is 10 o'clock at night. she's recording this episode. So I greatly appreciate you coming on so late and sharing your expertise with us. It's really great to have you here. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, Maybe we could start with you just sharing a little bit about yourself, right? Like who you are, what you do, all that fun stuff. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I am Cynthia. I am a voice coach. And as a voice coach, I help people from all over the world to speak with a more powerful voice so that they can be heard and be respected as the expert whenever, wherever, whoever they're speaking to. So that's who I am and what I do.
I love that. I think more people need help finding their voice, articulating their message, right? So important,
Yes.
no matter who you are or what you do.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I'm curious how you got into this work, right? It's a very unique kind of niche that you're in. So, how did you become this expert voice coach that you are today?
Initially, it seemed to be accidental. But the more I am in my business, so this is the 10th, going on 11th year. So
Oh, wow.
the more I do it, the more I realize this is my purpose for the life. I was probably chosen by some force to do this
Ah,
because there were so many things. When I looked back, there were so many things coming together. So when I was young, I was in singing. I was singing, performing.
oh,
And yeah, and in schools, I was also in the radio station. But those, they never let me realize, oh, this is going to be something I'm going to do one day. So I was in the corporate world. And then in my last job, I was doing leadership and communication training. So that's where a lot of people were asking me about voice. And even before that, even though I had experiences on singing on radio, but when I joined my first job, I was not heard. So I was still looking for different ways to work on myself.
mm.
And one of the ways was on voice as well, on the speaking voice.
Huh,
So then when someone asked me in my last job, and then I realized, oh, looks like this is something that people are looking for.
right.
And also, the more I did it, the more I realized that a lot of people, not all of my clients, but many of them, they also didn't feel heard. So that made me even more realize this is my purpose. This is what I'm going to do and what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Mm,
Yeah.
love it. So you've been in this business for 11 years now, which is pretty
Yes.
impressive. Have you been
Yeah.
doing voice work and helping people find their voice that whole time, or has your business evolved throughout that time?
Oh, it's in a way it's evolved. So it's always related to voice. In the beginning, for the first about 4 years, it was purely helping people develop the voice mechanism, the physical voice, to make it sound more powerful. But then at the same time, because I'm always learning, I'm always working on myself. So when I'm learning all kinds of things, then I started to see even more things that I can enrich not only my program, but also enrich the experience my clients have with me. So over the time, not only the physical voice that I help them, but also a lot of times the physical voice is a reflection of the mental blocks. So
Mm.
then whenever I realize the mental blocks, I will point it out to them.
Hmm. Interesting. You
Yes.
said that when you had your first job, you felt like you weren't heard and you had to kind of find that for yourself, find your voice.
Yes.
What was your experience? Like what were you experiencing at your job and what were some of the blocks that you realized you had?
There were a lot of problems. So two, two, two of them stood out. One was that I was not assertive. That was one of the biggest problems.
Okay.
And because I was not assertive, so my boss was aggressive.
Right.
So an aggressive person versus a passive person. So a lot
Yeah.
of issues, a lot of challenges. and also tremendous stress.
Mm.
So that was one of the biggest problems. And the other one was that I was not able to speak up. So I'm still an introvert, but I'm a happy and outgoing introvert. So when I just joined the workforce, I wasn't an outgoing introvert. So I was an introvert, pure introvert. So I was not able to speak up. And those were the two biggest problems that I was working on. And so in my journey of more self-discovery, more self-development, then one of the things that I was working on was the speaking voice as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right? Like introverts tend to be quieter, right? But that doesn't mean they can't have a voice. They just have to find the right way to express it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of leaders, a lot of great speakers, they are also introverts.
Huh. Interesting.
Yes.
So is it like they learn how to turn it on for their speaking engagement and then turn it off, outside of that? If you're an introvert and a great speaker, how does that work?
I think some of them maybe, but the really successful speaker success here doesn't mean that this traditional view of success. What I mean by successful speakers or leaders are those who can really move people, inspire people authentically.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that they are more driven by a purpose. So when they are driven by a purpose, when they really want to make a change, then even though they are introvert, but they put that aside because a stronger purpose is driving them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that really speaks to everything that I do, right? Like finding that purpose, that passion, why you're on this earth. And then it sounds like you're the person that can come in and help people direct that voice once they find it. Like, here's how to articulate it or get it out there in a way that people will hear you and see you and receive it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about some of the clients that you've had. I know you've had some amazing healing stories through your work, and I would love to hear some of those transformations, that you've witnessed in your work.
Sure. So one of them, when he came to me, he was I could feel that he was depressed, even though he probably didn't realize that. So not clinically depressed, but I could see that he was depressed.
Right.
And so he was very worried about his job, even his marriage, because in his job, he felt that he wasn't being heard.
Okay.
His boss was also didn't really see him as very important. So he was quite worried that he's going to lose his job. And so he said the same problems happen in the family as well. And then, because when he was not being heard, when he was not able to speak his mind, then the same happens in every relationship that we have. So then, as we were working together, and I could also feel that he was really determined to change. And everything that I asked him to practice, to do, he would do it and he would practice it. And over the period of time, I started to see that he started to smile a bit more. And then in the sessions, he also started to share with me the experiences that he had with his boss, with his family members. And he said his boss started to come up to him for advice, for suggestions, for a better presentation.
All right.
Yes.
Nice.
And also that there was one time he and his boss were going to do a presentation in front of the CEO. And his boss said, "You do the presentation."
Right.
And he did well. And he left a very good impression, not only on his boss, but also his CEO.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And at the last session, he asked me, he said, "What change did you see in me?" So I said, the biggest change I saw in you is that you become happier.
Oh, so
Yeah.
lovely. So
Yes.
powerful, right?
Yeah.
It's just, and it's all about, and it was helping you find, how did you help him find his voice, right? Like you saw when you, because you wouldn't think, right? If someone's feeling sad or like kind of not really making it in their job, the first thing they would think of is like, oh, I need a voice coach, like that may not be where they would go in terms of like,
Yeah.
what do I need? So
Yes.
I'm curious, but what you do is so powerful and so effective. So like what sort of techniques did you use with him to help him find his voice and kind of show up in the world authentically in a way that let go of the sadness, where he was able to be seen?
Yes. So for him, one of the biggest problems was that whenever he spoke, he would realize that no one was listening. or
Right.
or people would interrupt him.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then so he never could get his idea across. So that's where he realized, oh, maybe that I need to improve the way I'm speaking.
Interesting. So when you say improve speaking, are you saying like intonation and like volume? Like what sort of things in speech help people?
Uh, so there are two things that
Okay.
I worked with him and also work with other clients on. One
Okay.
is the sound of the voice. So the
Okay.
voice needs to be powerful so that when people hear you, they say, wow, who is this?
Okay.
And so that's one thing, the sound of the voice. And the other thing is also that how you are structuring what you say.
Ah,
So
right.
some of my clients, they are in the finance. They would always tell me, they say, oh, my topic is very boring. So whenever I present, no matter how dynamic I will become, the topic itself is boring. So
Right.
I will always tell them, I said, there's no such thing as boring topic. There is only lazy presenter.
I like that.
So any topic, you can structure it in a way that's interesting,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
engaging.
Huh.
So if you're presenting just a report, you're not just presenting a report. If you're just presenting slides after slides, then you don't need a presentation. You can just print it out and give it out to everyone
Yeah.
and save everyone's time.
Yeah. Seriously.
So
Yeah.
you need to present what's behind all these numbers.
Right.
So
And
that's
that's
where you,
you, right? Isn't that like
yes,
partly you and your personality that you're presenting?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So that's also where you add value.
Right. Yeah. I think like literally everyone can relate to that from being in a meeting with a PowerPoint presentation where the person is just reading the slide and
Yes,
like
yes,
that's the worst. Even with an
yeah,
exciting topic, you could go into a presentation like, oh, this topic sounds great. And then it's just awful, because the
yeah,
person doesn't know how to like really share the information in a way that's engaging.
yes, that's right.
Hmm. I think it's interesting that you're able to help people in finance make their reports exciting. Like that's a
Yes,
skill.
yeah. Yes, it is. So
Yeah,
it's always that what value can you add to the audience, even if you're presenting the financial data?
right. Right. So important. And I imagine, with your client that you were referencing that was sad, like, I think
Yes,
it's interesting. I think a lot of people could relate to feeling like when you say something, nobody listens, or or you get ignored, like in a meeting or something like
yes,
that. I think that's a pretty common, I don't know, you tell me, but I feel like that would be a
yes,
pretty common concern or
yes.
complaint.
Yeah. So that's one group of people that
Okay.
they felt ignored, they felt not being heard.
Hmm.
There are also another end of the spectrum. So I also have clients who speak too loud.
Right.
And then when they speak too loud, they often come across as too to people's face too much,
Right.
and they're also being seen as aggressive. And people would always feel that, oh, they are too much. They are someone who is so arrogant. They know everything. So actually also in a way shut people up. Even though people didn't say anything, but whatever they said, no one really take in.
Right. And how does someone, so I can see how someone that's like on the one end of the spectrum where like, I've never heard, nobody listens, like I feel like I can't get my voice. I can see how they might see they need help. But the people that are arrogant or like
Yes.
loud, how would they come to you, right? Like, how would they know like, I need a voice coach to help me like tone it down?
Yeah, it's often two sources when they came to me. They always tell me that either my husband or my wife told me, blah, blah, blah.
Right. Okay. So
or
partner
the other
was like, shut up. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And then they will always tell me that only my family members will tell me to my face that I'm speaking too loud.
Right.
Or they realize that whatever they said, no one really take it in.
Right.
No one really take action on whatever they said. It's
and you work with
results.
like a lot of leaders, right? Like people in management, people leading teams. So they'd have to be insightful people that really care, right? That their team may not be hearing them or their employees, right? Like they'd have to be people that want to change and see the power of the voice.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
And also they are the group who always want to be even more effective.
Right. Right. So you're working with like highly motivated people that want to create change.
Yes.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. So what about someone that is like an entrepreneur, right? Like maybe a solopreneur just starting their business. Maybe they're like, I work with a lot of empaths, a lot of healers that are, they care, they want to save the world, they want to help. What would be your tips for someone that's like just starting out in business and trying to kind of figure this out for themselves? Like, what would be some of your like tips for them?
I would say the first thing is probably not related to the voice, but it will help them to lay a very good foundation to be more influential.
Mm-hmm.
So the very first thing is to listen to what people are saying. Potential customers or customers to listen to what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are listening to what they're saying, then you can provide value to them that will help them to either solve their problems or meet their needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, like we can get stuck in like what we think we should be doing or helping people with or like, I think this product sounds great, but is that really what your customers want? Like,
yeah. You see that what finally made me do what I'm doing right now is that I heard people saying that, oh, I want to improve my voice. And I heard it over and over again. Then I realized, oh, this is something that people are looking for.
Right. Yeah. And you were doing more leadership, training prior to that? Not necessarily just voice?
Yeah. Leadership, communication.
Right.
And many other entrepreneurs, they also ask me, they say, oh, how did you find your niche?
Right.
I said, I didn't go out and look for my niche in a way that it found me.
Right. You didn't go on an expedition for your niche.
No. And also I didn't do the so-called all kinds of different methods that you use to find your niche, like something that's very popular now, like the Ikigai.
Yeah.
So they were saying that you need to do a few things. You need to go search for your values, search for your soul, search for different things, and then you find your niche. But that's not what I did. I didn't do all kinds of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you were listening to people, like to your customers, right? Like, and you developed, there was a need and you responded to the need. And that was your skill to begin with. It's almost like your customers helped you draw that out of you in a way.
That's right. Yes. And
Yeah.
also keep on listening to, even as I progress in my business, I keep on listening to what other things they are looking for.
Yeah.
What other things I can help them with.
Yeah. And what, like with your programs too, like how did you design your programs? Was that also based on what your customers were asking for, like in terms of length and how many times you meet with them, all that kind of stuff? How did you come up with that?
So it depends on what objectives that they want to achieve.
Okay.
So I do have a few different programs, but the main one is a 6 months
Okay.
to 10 months program, because that's usually how long they need to see the results to achieve the
Right.
object.
Right.
So
Interesting.
then in this period of time, then we have different milestones, different steps to achieve. And usually it's 2 months, we will be able to hit one milestone. So that's how the program is designed.
Okay. And how often do you meet with them within that 6 months?
So it's usually about 2 weeks. And then
Okay.
there are times they will need a little bit more time to practice. So it will be about 2 to 3 weeks in between.
Right. So you're giving them actual, like, it sounds like voice techniques even that they have to
Yes.
practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
For example, that we have breathing exercises they need to do
Um,
for the first milestone. Then they need to do projection exercises. So there is progressive steps. There are different steps.
ah,
There are different exercises.
that's so cool. I love that you incorporate breathing. I mean, people wouldn't think that, but I mean, what an important part of finding your voice and articulating, right? Is like breath.
Yes.
That's everything.
Yes. That's the foundation.
hmm Yeah. And if
Yeah.
you get nervous, right, you tend to breathe more shallow. You tend to like hyperventilate almost, and then you're definitely not
Yes.
able to speak clearly.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. So cool. And what sort of are there any like singing? I know you were a singer, right? What type
Yes.
of singing did you do? What was your type, like what type of
Uh,
song?
so when I was performing in schools, it's more pop songs.
All right.
But once I went into my college and graduate schools, I started to learn jazz on my own.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
And do you play instruments too?
So I used to play guitar in college for some time, but then
Okay.
put it aside afterwards.
Right. Right. And so I imagine like what would be some of the principles of like singing that might transfer over to people trying to find their voice just through talking?
Uh, the most important thing is to feel what you say.
Okay.
The feeling. It's the same in singing. So one is feeling what you say or feeling what you sing. So if there's no, you see that there are many songs. The same song can be sung by different singers.
Right.
But different singers can give it different emotions. And those who sing with emotions are always the ones they touch us.
Mm,
It's the same for speaking. For speaking, if
right.
you don't speak with any feeling, you're just speaking, then you're not going to be authentic. You're not going to touch anyone. You're not going to
Right.
inspire anyone.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, if you have a song, right, and you have someone really where it has meaning to them and they're like feeling that emotion while they're singing it, it would be very different from someone just like singing lyrics that they're reading, right?
Yes.
Like that would be
Yeah.
two very different experiences.
Or the techniques. So I had a friend, he loves singing. So once that he shared one of his songs with me, and when I listened to it, just listened to a few lines, I said, "This is so boring," because he was putting too much focus on the singing technique.
Right.
There was no emotion. I didn't hear any emotion.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That actually is a good tip because I am taking music lessons right now. I'm a pianist by trade, and
Ah,
I'm studying the harmonium, which is an instrument in India. And part of that is like singing and chanting. And I've always thought that I have a terrible singing voice. So I've always like avoided that. And like when there were group chanting sessions, that kind of thing, in yoga classes, like I am nervous about how I sound. But that actually makes me think like maybe I just need to focus on how the chant or the song makes me feel and not worry so much about how it sounds, and then it will sound fine because I'm in it and I'm not thinking about it.
Yes, yes,
you
yeah,
know?
yes. And
Interesting.
also, even for some singers in Asia, there is a singer in Taiwan. So in terms of singing techniques and even the singing range, she has a very limited singing range, and her techniques are also not very good.
Okay.
But she is very much liked by a lot of fans
Okay.
because of the emotion that she uses in her singing.
Mm,
Yeah.
interesting. I think that would probably apply to a lot of singers and like that are very successful, right? Like not everyone is necessarily has this incredible vocal range or
Yeah.
talent. It's more the personality and the emotion and the energy that comes with the music that they're making.
Yes.
Yeah. Huh. So, okay, so were kind of circling back to you kind of struggled in the beginning with being assertive. And of course, that's the worst combo when you have a passive person and an aggressive boss. Like that
Hmm.
it's like they know how to sniff them out, like aggressive bosses or like overbearing people. They know
Yes.
who the more passive people are, and that's who they target. Like
That's why she hired me.
she knew, she knew.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what were some things, how did you overcome that? Like eventually you shifted that with her, right? Like,
Yeah.
so what were some of the things that you started like doing with her that made her change the way she was approaching you?
Unfortunately, I didn't change the way she approached me because I I quit.
Probably better anyways.
Yes. So I think at the time I was still learning how to be more assertive. So
Right.
I hadn't mastered it. So I mastered it afterwards.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But she was your lesson. She was your lesson from the universe that
Yes.
you needed
Yes.
to. She was
That's
like
right.
the message.
Yeah. Yes.
Because you were
So
saying too, like it brought a lot of stress for you, right? Like what were
yes,
you feeling? What was
huge,
the
huge
symptoms that
stress.
you experienced? What sort of stress?
The biggest symptom was every day I was so worried about my job.
Yeah, it's
So
the worst.
now I'm laughing, but at the time, every day, yes. So
Yeah.
every day, the moment I went to work, I would be thinking, today she's going to fire me.
Oh my God.
So I was
That's the
thinking that
worst.
every day. Yeah. And I worked for her for about 1.5 years. And
Ah,
at the end of the 1.5 years, every day before I went to work, I could feel that the stress on my chest.
yeah,
And it was very heavy, lasted for months. And then at the
right.
end of that month, I was thinking, oh my God, I cannot take it anymore.
Yeah,
My health is more important.
yeah,
So then I quit. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, you can't let your health. It's so interesting how your voice or lack of voice can affect your health, right? To the point
It
where like
is.
your
Yes.
body feels it,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
stress. It's incredible.
Yes. So there's a saying, your couldn't remember. Talking about that your biology is your biography.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our body is reflecting every stress, every tension that we have experienced or we are experiencing.
Yes. That is a really good quote. I'm going to start saying that everywhere. Your
Yes.
biology
It's
is your biography.
from Carolyn Nix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. So now that you've so you had this experience, your health was really affected. You ended up quitting because it was too much. You went on this journey to find your voice, and now you help others find their voice. What
Yes.
helps you stay well, be well? Like, stay assertive? You know what I mean? Like, how do you take
Yes.
care of yourself so you don't go back to that place?
Yeah, so one of the things that helped me to be more assertive and also help my health as well is to set boundaries.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
So important.
remember, yes, I remember that at the time when I was learning about how to be assertive, I was
Right.
even asking the teacher, I said, why do we need to set boundaries? Aren't we supposed to be nice to people?
Right.
So yeah, so I think I've learned how to take care of myself, how to put me first. So
Yeah.
setting boundary is one of the things that to stay healthy.
Interesting. Well, and I think that's for people that tend to be more passive or struggle with being assertive, that you nailed it right there, where they confuse being nice with being
Yeah,
mean, right? Like,
yeah,
I can't set boundaries because that would be mean. You know,
yeah,
you can set boundaries and do it in a nice way. Like, you can say no and do it I'm huge on that. Like, you can say no nicely. Like, it's not a
yeah,
mean thing.
yes,
Yeah. You're taking care of yourself and you're taking care of the other person by not engaging in something that's potentially harmful for either one of you because it's not good energy, you know?
yeah, yes, yeah,
Okay. So setting boundaries was huge for you, learning that you can be nice and also be assertive.
yes, yeah.
And what other
So
things do you do to take care of yourself?
yeah, I think there are two things. One
Okay.
is emotional. The other one is physical. So in terms of mental and emotional, I really realize how important it is because I realize that when I'm happy, my weight also is decreasing. So when I'm still eating the same, eating probably sometimes I ate even more, but
Yeah.
when I'm happy, my weight was decreasing.
Right.
So that's where I realize how important it is to take care of my emotional and mental health.
Yeah. So
So
you're
to
like an
stay,
emotional eater then. Like, you eat more when you're not happy.
not really, but
Oh,
it's when I'm stressed, when I'm not happy, I gain weight, even
huh.
if I eat less.
Really? So it's
Yes,
that cortisol effect, the stress
yeah,
effect.
yes. So
Ah,
that's where I realize I need to be happy. And how do I be happy is when something that bothers me, if someone did something that bothers me, I will tell them in a very kind and gentle way. So
right.
instead of all stayed in me, which will affect my health.
Right.
Yeah. So I think
I
that
think,
in a way is really taking care of our health.
yes. I think that's so interesting because I think a lot of women struggle with weight loss. And I think we forget about how stress very much impacts the body. And, like, to your point, you were eating less and could still gain weight because of the stress that you were
Yes.
experiencing, you
Yes.
know? I think that's incredible. Like, that just says so much about the importance of stress management and being well.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
So that's why there were some people they haven't seen me in a long time, and they will ask me. They say, "Oh, what did you do? You lost weight." So when I told them, I said, "I didn't really do anything. Just stay happy."
Yes, stay happy.
They didn't believe me.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
So boundaries is a huge part of you staying happy, right? And, like, being
Yes.
well mentally. Are there any other things that you do regularly to kind of stay emotionally well so it kind of keeps everything in check?
Um, the third thing I would say that to spend time with myself,
Mm,
which is meditation.
yes.
So when I'm doing meditation, it helps me to be more grounded, to be
Hmm.
more in check with my emotions so that I don't use my emotions to affect other people.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's the third thing that I do in terms of emotional and mental health.
What are your favorite meditation techniques?
So what I do is there are different ways I do. One of the things is sometimes I'm just getting centered and then also to ask for messages.
Ah,
And
I like
sometimes I receive interesting messages that are totally surprising.
Okay, so you're tuning in to the universe, to the divine, God,
Yeah.
the creator, however you want to define that, but you're essentially dialing into that energy.
Yes. Yeah.
Ah. And do you share those messages? Like, are there messages for other people or?
So sometimes so I would recommend to some of my clients. So I said, you can start doing meditation. And
Ah,
yeah. So I would tell some of them to listen to whatever comes in.
yeah. Well, and I think more people could access that if they did pause and tune in. It's
Yes.
actually, there's a lot of energy out there wanting to talk to us. It's just, are we even dialed in to receive it,
Yeah, because most people are closed. Their mind
Yeah.
is closed. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. I 100% agree. And they're closed to themselves too. They're closed to themselves and to any other like energies in the world.
Yes.
Meditation helps us like open up internally and then also be available to external energy too.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I like it.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm still like the one thing that I'm still resonating with is the stress and weight loss. Like, I think that's huge. Well, there's several things I'm resonating with because you have a lot of great wisdom, but that is like, yes, like even for myself, like stress management is so important. You could eat less, but if you're not taking care of yourself, your body is going to be in that cortisol state and just forget it. Like, you're not going to
Yes.
get where you want to be. So
Yeah.
awesome. So I know that you work with people all over the world. You've done TED Talks, you've done all sorts of amazing things. I'm wondering if you have any offerings or any gifts for my audience if they want to find you, maybe like learn about how you work, anything like that. What do you have for them?
Sure. So they can either go to my website to download the 3-part free video lessons that I made.
Okay.
So once they log into my website, which is powerfulexecutivevoice.com, so once they log in, there will be a pop-up window that asks if they would like to receive the 3-part free video lessons. So in that 3-part lessons, I take them step by step to develop their powerful voice, including one of the things that we mentioned, like to feel what you say.
Yeah. I love that. So they can, for people, and you work with people in all kind of sectors, right? So maybe someone that has a job but doesn't feel heard and wants to kind of maybe get promotions or even just feel comfortable in their job. You work with entrepreneurs that are trying to find their voice and, be heard on the stage of business. You work with inspirational speakers that want to up their game. Like, you work with, your work applies to pretty much anyone that wants to be heard and really step up,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So
that's one resource. The other one is my YouTube channel. So they can go to my YouTube channel where I have over 150 videos.
Oh, awesome.
And, we have just hit 40K subscribers recently.
Nice. That's awesome. That is major. I'm impressed. That is major goals. I think I have like 5. So I haven't built my YouTube. That's so impressive. That's awesome. So there's a lot of great information on your YouTube.
And I checked that when it hits 40K, so I checked my first video, which was published in 2010.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. So you've been so you pretty much started YouTube right when you started your business then.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. So we will leave the links to your website where people can get that awesome 3-part video and like start learning how to find their voice no matter where you are in life. This is an important skill to have as a business owner, as a person, as a partner. Like, this is really important in showing up in the world authentically and being heard, being seen, and being able to engage in a healthy way. So that 3-part video series, we'll leave the link to, and we will also leave the link to Cynthia's YouTube channel, which is a huge hit, and there's lots of great info there. So you definitely want to check her out. Yeah, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. This was so much fun. I learned a lot from you today. This is great.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So that's it. That's all we have today. I am so grateful to have Cynthia here sharing all of her wisdom and expertise. I know I've learned a lot, and I definitely have some things to think about and chew on that she said that I think are really important. But yeah, we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Sending you infinite love and light. And we will see you next time right here on the Be Your Best Self podcast. Bye for now.